الحقيقة يعني أنا كنت أبحث عن موضوع جديد بالنسبة لكم، يعني أول مرة تسمعون فيه، وفي نفس الوقت يكون في صلب العلم الهندسي. أحد في السنة الأخيرة يا شباب؟ مين اللي في السنة الخامسة الآن؟ الرابعة؟ الثانية؟ الثالثة؟ الثانية؟ طيب حياكم الله جميعا. Before we start our lecture today, I will ask one question. What's the major job of an engineer? يا شباب بالعربي ولا بالانجليزي تبون المحاضرة؟ ها؟ اي شيء. طيب. What's the major job of engineers?
Design.
Design?
Yeah.
Design?
Solving problems.
Solving problems?
Putting ideas into action.
Okay. أني أقدر أنسر يا شباب؟ أنا أنسر. The major job of engineer is to perform analysis and design of systems, such as production systems in industrial engineering, mechanical system in mechanical engineering, electrical system in electrical engineering, and so on. What's then the analysis? What's the analysis?
And understand things.
Okay.
To break it down.
Break down what?
To symbolize the idea.
Okay. This is the more important concept is to understand what's engineering and what's your role, what's your job in engineering, as mechanical engineer, industrial engineer, or civil engineer, and so on. What's the role of the engineer? Is to do analysis and design of systems. Okay? The analysis is to search for the source of problems in systems in order to solve these problems, or to search for opportunities to improve the performance of systems. So it is not only to search for the problem and solve it, but it's also to search for the opportunities to improve the performance of systems. This is the generic definition of analysis we use in engineering. And the other part of our work is to do design. What is design, Shara? What is design?
Prototype.
Prototype?
Yeah. Draw of an idea.
Huh?
Draw of an idea.
Design is to look for the alternatives and evaluate them, either for solving the problems found in the analysis phase, or to perform and implement the opportunities performed in analysis phase. This solution will be evaluated, tested, compared, and implemented in the design phase. So our job is to do analysis and design for systems. Industrial systems, like manufacturing systems, service systems, civil systems, and so on. This is your major job as engineer. One of the major things in engineering is how to formulate the problem. Unfortunately, most of courses, even in so many universities, they just deal with the problem or existing problem. We have ready problems, and we suggest solutions for these problems. Today, we will focus how to define the problem, how how to know the problem. So it is not sort of find the problem and solve the problem for engineers. In order to innovate, in order to help people, in order to improve the product or service you offer, you should do some procedures to define these problems and to find what user want. And this is why we are talking today about empathize and prototype as tool for design thinking. What is an empathy, Yeshua? What's empathy?
To make it simple.
Huh?
Simple? Simplicity.
No. And this is why I promise you to talk today a new thing, which is in the core of engineering, but not known for most of our students. Empathy and prototyping is tool for design thinking and help you to innovate in product and service. What's innovation? What's innovation, Shabab?
Creativity.
Not creativity. Innovation is to do old things with new tools or new approach. And this is why the innovation is so important for engineers. So traditional engineers who couldn't innovate, they use some existing solution to apply it, but with low performance and without innovation. This is the traditional work of most of engineers. The innovative engineers, he can suggest solution, he can suggest a new approach in order to increase the value of the product through the value chain of the product and the process itself. And this is why we are talking today about the empathy and the prototype. We will approach the engineering problem today using different philosophy. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we will go through two major things: empathize and prototype. Empathize is how to search for the user needs. You represent the user, you investigate the needs of the user and the insights that they are looking for, and you reflect that in your solution. So you'll go through several steps in empathy and prototype. You'll start with empathize. In this empathize, you are defining the problem, find the problem, not solution. So you will ask the user about the product or the service, and then you suggest the solution in the ideate stage. So usually in the engineering, we start by the definition of the problem, but sometimes we don't know what's the source of the problem and what's the other factors reflected in the environment related to the considered problem. So in the empathize stage, we will start with considering so many factors related to users and to investigate, to represent the user himself in order to investigate the factors affecting the service or product. In this stage of process, sometimes we use wide range of information and data and interviews, and sometimes we narrow our choices in order to focus on definition of the problem. So now we are in flaring stage that we consider about problems and services with interview with users in order to innovate and suggest the appropriate solution for those problems. And then we'll focus again in the define phase of the problem. So, what is empathy? Empathy ممكن ترجمتها اللي هي يعني العواطف أو emotions of users. So, the empathy, the intellectual identification with or vicarious experiencing of the feeling, thoughts, or attitudes of another. And this is why we start with this in order to be able to suggest the solution for the problem. Before the solution, we need to understand exactly what's the problem with our product or our service. So we need also, when you feel what the other person is feeling, and when you can mirror their expression, their opinions, and their hopes. This is the empathy. We deal with the user, the end user of our service or our product. Then, why you use empathy? And we suggest it as the first stage of this process in order to end up with prototype and engage the user in this prototype in order to evaluate it. This is to discover people's explicit and implicit need so that you can meet them through your design solutions. What we see from customer and we hear from them is not enough to decide about the problems. We use as act of user in order to feel what user feeling about the product and service. And this is very important thing in order to improve the user and service, the product and service for users. Also because we don't actually know what problem we should be working on until we understand the user. And this is why the problem formulation for engineers is so difficult. Most of the problems existing in the book, even in most of the book in the analysis and design, focus on the analytic solution or another modeling techniques like abstraction modeling techniques or mathematical modeling techniques, focusing on how to solve the problem rather than how to formulate it from the actual or the practical field. Look to this example. What's this, ya shabab? MRI device in the hospital, which is very sophisticated device to give diagnosis about the bones of the body, and this is existing in every hospital and take long time from the patient and the technician to finalize or to finish the process. Okay. What do you think about children? Do they like this one? Can be because it's required to be quiet in this device in order to have accurate measurements. Do you think the kids under 12 years will be quiet in this device? So what they have done, they suggested solution for this one. ايش رايكم الحين؟ And this is, they behave like child in order to investigate and discover their needs. So the child likes stories, adventure, feeling, playing. So they change some design and some colors of this MRI machine in order to be convenient for kids. So they can spend hours and take measurements without any problem with kids. So you have to behave as child when you're asking about the needs of the user for product and services. This is done by, I think, GE Medicals. Nothing changes in the technological side of the device, but most of things change the environment to be convenient for kids. And this is the result of how we use empathy, philosophy, or concept in order to discover what the user needs. Another example, in Nepal, this is the incubation for babies. They found in hospital in Nepal that this incubation is costly, and when it is failed, the maintenance cost is high, and sometimes there is no skilled worker or technician to fix this machine. So the empathy team at the beginning start to think about the needs of doctors, need of the hospitals. When they go to the hospital, they found some of these incubators working, but there is no babies in them. Okay? So they need to reform their problem and they reform their plan in order to investigate who the actual user for the incubators. When they go to the hospital, they found that most of babies born in remote area, far away from the hospital, and the moms need about 15 to 20 hours to reach the hospital. They already born their babies. So the user in this case is different, and they found very cheap incubator that they keep the baby warm until reach the hospital. And they discover and innovate a new device for babies. As we mentioned, you have to behave as user for the product or service. So the empathy mindset should respectively, optimistically, curiosity, with beginner's eyes, without judgment. This is like to behave as child, to ask for every aspect of the product and service, using several questions, why this, why this, why this, like kids, in order to understand what the customer feel about the product or service. So how to do empathize? There are 3 steps: immerse, observe, engage. Immerse in what customer need, either product or service, and behave as a customer in order to understand their emotions. Observe, then observe what customer require, using several questions: what, how, why, and most of the question should be why this, why you do this, why you need this, why you prefer this, in order to have the right feeling and thinking of the user. And you will focus on the wide range of the user in the middle of the curve. Engaging your user will start with introduce yourself, leave your chair, leave your office, leave your business, go to the field, go to the user who using your service or your products. And then introduce yourself with your team, introduce your project, and then build rapport with your user or your customer, evoke stories, ask him to talk about the product, ask him to talk about the service, what they need, what they feel, what they face during the using of this service or product. And then explore emotions. Try to build relationship with the user in order to feel as user for this service and this product. And then question statement, it should very straightforward, short questions and direct, related to the user, related to the product you are going to develop or to innovate or to the service. And then at the end, thank and wrap up your meeting or your interview with user. In this phase, you will collect a lot of information. Your team, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, then you will collect a lot of information and you will start to filter your information in the next phase. As we mentioned, regarding seeking stories, tell me about the last time you used this service or used this product, and tell me about the experience you have had with our service, with our product. Talk about feeling. How did you feel when you use this product or this service or this new features of product? What were your feeling at this moment? And so on. You will ask so many questions in order to have the feeling and thinking of the user. And follow up with why. Then you can generate questions from answers. Suppose the user tell, then I use another product. Why use the another product? Okay? Because some features. Why this feature is so important for you? And so on. You will ask why and why and why until you have the right feeling and thinking of customer. Then say more about that service, that product. You know why you think that is better and so on. Okay, and it's important because why? Why this feature or this characteristic of product is so important for the user. You will use series of questions depending on the service or product you offer, and why and why and why in order to have the right feeling of the user regarding the product. Then you can capture your findings, your notes, your video, your camera, and so on. And try to use short notes to collect all the information, or to use sort of forms existing in the internet to use for empathy process. Wrap user interview, follow your user with plan and be ready to throw it away. Also, during the offering the question, you should be able how to capture the most important feeling and emotion of the user. طبعا الوقت not enough to have an assignment, so you can apply it later on and contact your customer to discuss or focus on a certain service and certain product, and discuss with the user regarding how to develop it and what they need in order to be ready for the next phase, which is the define phase. In the define phase, now we will try to focus in order to come up with certain problems. And now we are seeking for defining the problems, not solutions. Don't ask the user solutions. Ask them about the problems. Ask them about their needs in order to define the right problem. As we mentioned before, the original design of incubators is to create a cheaper and easier to maintain incubator in clinic in Nepal. Then the team reframing the problem based on the investigation of the case. So the user, desperate Nepal mother living in remote villages, and the need to keep premature baby warm to give it a chance to survive, because the long time or the long trip from the villages to the hospital. And you need the insight is most mothers don't have the means to bring their baby to the hospital. So this is why they think in the new device provided here. The cost of this device is fraction of the cost of the traditional incubator device in the hospital. So it is less than 1% of traditional incubator. And this is the result of investigation and contacting the real user of this device. In this stage, you need to define the point of view of the customer. How to do that? We do it in 3 major stages, shabab. Unpack the information and data we collected in the previous stage, and then identify user needs and insight. And sure, we need to reform the problem if it is needed in this stage. This is because sometimes we do some wrong investigation or suggestion for the problem at the beginning, and after some interviews, we need to reform our problem. And back, you will use boards or sheets to unpack the interviews you collected from customer. And you sort these interviews in short statements, and you need to also identify, classify them into groups, as you have seen in these boards. One of the most important things, which is the golden core of this lecture, is the empathy map. يا شباب، is that empathy map. لو ما خرجت اليوم الا بالempathy map، هذا اللي انا ابغى تستفيد منه فقط. Empathy map consisting of 4 sections. What customer say, and what he do, what he think, and what he feel. So it is 4 parts, and you will classify the information you collected from customer into these 4 categories. من خلال المقابلة, you can detect, you can find what your customer say about the service, about the product, okay? And what they do, you will observe what they do when they move, when they deal with the service or product you offer, and what they think. Sometimes you can detect this. I think about this feature is better. I think this feature is not needed. I think this size of product is not needed. So you can detect a lot of thinking of customer from this empathy map. And what customer feel regarding this product or service. Then you can classify the interview into these 4 categories as mentioned in the empathy map. empathy map في أشكال عديدة من الempathy map. مثلا هذا الشكل عبارة عن empathy map which include the data collected from customer about the say, do, think, and feel. There is so many forms, but they are similar at the end about the empathy map. مثلا, in this empathy map, what you hear, think, and feel, and you see, and what the customer say and do. They also gain and pain of the customer that you can detect during your interview with customers. Then, after unpacking the data into empathy map, you will start in the next step. Identify user, needs, and insight. Okay? The needs are human physical and emotional necessities. Capture the goals and motivation of the person for whom you are designing. Also, the needs should be verbs, not nouns, opportunities, not solutions. Okay? This is the major specification, boundaries of the customer needs when you unpacking your data obtained from customers. So, what's the need of this customer? Hi, Shabab. Huh? What's the need of this customer?
To grab things from
Yes,
higher.
sir. Don't suggest solution in this stage. In this stage, you will help the user or discover what's the problem of the user. What he needs is to reach the higher shelves. Okay? So, what are solutions in your mind now? You mentioned leather. But what size of leather he needs? What colors? What about the safety of leathers he needs? So many questions regarding the need. So here we just define the problem. Don't suggest any solution in this phase. Insight, reframe the challenge. Sometimes, and so many times, when you sit with the customer and do your interviews, you will discover that you need to reframe your challenge or the problem. Because you understand at the beginning something and you discover different thing when you do interviews. So you will start to discover these challenges when you talk to user during the interviews. Then you will give you an actionable direction to go in, lead to an awful solution. So in this stage, you will start to define the problem. And again, at the end of defining phase, you will find that you will suggest several solutions. Again, you will go to a broad phase of the process to suggest solution. Now we are focusing how to define certain problems and then you suggest solutions. So point of view is the result of the empathy map, which consisting of the equation user plus need plus insight. We will combine to create the point of view the users. After we unpacking the data and information into the empathy map, we will come up to define certain users. And the users will be from the most population and the middle of the curve, the normal curve we have seen before. So our user here and exactly the needs and the insight. Then we go to reform the problem. How to reform the problem? We will focus on some users with certain needs, with certain insight in order to come up with the innovation in our solution or our suggestions. The point of view consisting of user plus need plus insight, and so in this zone, this is the need of user, and then because of insight. It is not solution, but how to detect from the user how they feel about the service or the product, and they will describe some features of the product or service that should be added when you develop your new product or a new service. And this is the unpacking of the empathy map for this. And this is the final of the define phase. Look for suitable, surprising connection between users, as we have mentioned, in order to narrow again your problem, and then make sure to dig for the preserved emotions of users. When in doubt, choose to frame the problem around the unexpected user that will push you outside of your comfort zone. This is the define phase, and the next phase is the ideate phase, which is the mode during your design process in which you focus on idea generation. This is the start of generation, the solution. Okay? And this is the start of suggestion, the solution to the problem. Mentally, it represents a process of going wide in terms of concepts and outcomes. It is a mode of filtering rather than focusing in the process. So again, you will have wide range of suggestions, wide range of solutions. Among these solutions, you will select some of them to do your prototypes. The goal of ideation is to explore the wide solution space, both a large quantity of ideas and diversity among those ideas. From this vast depository of ideas, you can build prototypes to test with your users. Then why you ideate is you ideate in order to transition from the identifying problem into exploring solution or suggestions to improve the product or service. Various forms of ideation are leveraged to step-point obvious solution, and thus increase the innovation potential of your solution set. Harness the collective perspectives and strengths of your team, uncover unexpected area of exploration, create fluency, volume, and flexibility regarding the variety in your innovation option, got obvious solution out of your heads, and drive your team beyond them. At this stage, you are ready to do your prototype. So this is the third stage: empathize, define, and ideate the suggested solution. After that, the next course or next step is to prototype or start to work on the prototype using the materials and the capabilities you have for building your prototype. And at the end stage, or the last stage, you will test and re-engage the user for testing your prototype. This is the empathy and prototype as design thinking tool to help you for innovation in your service and your product. أي سؤال يا شباب؟ الله يسلمك الله يحييك.
المحاضرة ما يقدر يعطيها كليا